Let's get a little weird. Let's get a little odd. Those sounds you like to hear. We got it going on. It's the Oddcast. It's the Oddcast. It's the Oddcast. It's the Oddcast.
Hey folks, welcome back to the Oddcast podcast, where we talk to people who are turning their passion into profession and subsequently their passion into paychecks. Today we are at MMT and Faster Performance in Laguna Niguel with John Walker. Jay Walk is in the building. We have a very special guest. Jay Walk, introduce yourself. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm having a wonderful, wonderful day. I feel great. It's an honor to have you guys here in my home. And I'm very privileged to speak to your viewers and hopefully share my story with you guys. Thanks for chiming in and just learning a little bit about how I love to live my life. Hopefully it can impact you.
Absolutely. Mr. Motivation Man, you can find him on Instagram at
John Walker Pro, spelled correctly, JohnWalkerPro on IG. That's pretty much my primary social platform. Not to be confused with Johnny Walker, the whiskey or Black Label.
Truth. So basically, John is a bit of a jack of all trades, but he, I would say the best place to start would be the 20,000 foot journey from kind of, your inception into sports via track and field, and then subsequently, via football, and then playing, at Birmingham and Van Nuys, then USC, then the NFL, then Arena League, then kind of getting into the fitness stuff and kind of now being not only a fitness guru, but a motivational guru. I know we'll get into this later, but I know you said there's 4 things. It's the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And if you're lacking in one, it's going to be foundationally a flaw.
That's completely true.
So take us through that 20,000 foot journey that I kind of alluded to earlier. I know that's a tough question.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's a loaded question.
Yeah.
It's funny. Guys, anything that you find out about me, I'm super raw. It's a phrase I've coined. I call myself authentic. Like, I just keep it real. I'm having such a hard time not laughing. We're in my office and I have a pit bull puppy, and this dude's over here snoring his brains out. And I'm trying not to laugh, but he's got allergies. My little man has allergies. So if you guys hear some funny snoring, that's my little guy. His name's Trojan.
Let's go.
But yeah, man, let me jump back into it. So yeah, with regards to like going from a youth all the way through the ranks and, competing in athletics and everything else I've done that took a physical toll on my body and on my mind. The process started when I was a really little guy. My first passion was martial arts. My first passion was anything that had to do with karate or kung fu. Anything that happened around fighting was for me. And my father, who was a military man, used to just love action movies. Jean-Claude Van Damme was like legitimately one of my heroes. And then I can remember just loving Tommy from Power Rangers and seeing those guys and just wanting to be like that. I mean, I thought when I grew up I was going to be Donatello. Like my teacher asked me, what are you going to be when you grow up? I said, I'm going to be Donatello. I'm going to be the purple Ninja Turtle.
He had this giant stick.
That's right.
He was my favorite too.
He had to be. Dude, Donatello does not get enough love. The team will fall apart without Donnie. He's the brains of the operation. And believe it or not, he does have high level kung fu. But yes, that's a little bit of a tangent. So what I was getting at was I loved everything physical, right? Little backstory: I was born 3.5 months premature with underdeveloped lungs, and I think when I was a baby, I had central nervous damage and respiratory disease. So I'm to this day chronic asthmatic. Wow. And I struggle from time to time with breathing and respiratory type deals. More so that when I was, the first time a doctor told me that I would never be able to play sports, I would never be able to be an athlete, was probably 5 or 6 years old. And when I was born preemie, the doctors even so much encouraged my mom to pull the plug. Like, this little guy might not make it. He's gonna have some severe birth defects. I had to spend equal amount of time in the incubator house, that I wasn't in the womb because I came out so early. I was
3 months is no joke.
It seem like a lot, but I was 3 pounds and like 1 or 4 ounces, something, 1.4 ounces, I think my mom would tell me. And there's a picture of me and my father's, the palm of his hand, and he's just like, this can't be my son. And my dad was 6'8", may he rest in peace. But he's a great man, and I had a great and beautiful mother. Mm-hmm. And the thing is she gave me a fighting chance by not pulling the plug. She said that she didn't even realize, from my understanding, she didn't realize that she was pregnant until later into the pregnancy.
Wow.
Right? Because she was just a petite lady, and she never showed.
Wow.
And so when I came out, it was like a big surprise. I don't know if maybe she was pregnant 3 or 4 months before she knew she was going to even have a baby. And then I pop up, and I'm very unhealthy.
Wow.
So right away, life was trying to hit me with body blows. Mm-hmm. But it was the unique thing that my mom, she had faith in God, and she had faith that no things are accidents. And so she gave me a chance by not pulling the plug. And so from the earliest memories, all I ever tried to do was just reward her by just being an exceptional person and using all of my gifts and strengths to the best of my abilities. And which is what led me into competing. Right?
Yeah. So that kind of like always like, always been a fighter and like led to your drive to compete in a way.
Yeah, yes, it did, because I came out fighting. As most humans do. You all are fighters. If you're taking a breath of air and you got to fight with life. But it was kind of a unique opportunity. Once I get older now, I can reflect back on a lot of the choices I made when I was a young person. Mm-hmm. And it started as early. My father served in the military, so he came back from a tour, I believe. My memory's spotty, obviously, but I believe he had been stationed away for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I can remember him picking me up and taking me to a Kmart in Southside Chicago. And back then, Kmart was the jam. Yeah, everything was in Kmart, right? And he took me down the aisle of sporting goods where there were all the balls, tennis balls, basketballs, baseballs, everything. And he's like, son, pick a ball. You can have any ball you want. We're gonna use it. I'm like, yes, I get to pick a ball. I could be 6, 7, 5, wow, somewhere around there.
Wow.
And all I can remember is, looking at all these balls, and I just saw this one that really stood out to me. It was a Nerf Vortex. It was like foam, and it had like a tail on it, and then it had a whistle, and it had a whistle on it. And I grabbed it, and it fit perfectly in my little hand. Like the little ball was just perfect. And I was like, "This, Dad." And my dad was like, "No, son, no. Grab the basketball. We're walkers. We play basketball. We hoop." And I'm like, "No, Dad. I want this football. I want this one." And he's like, "Well, son, I don't play." All right. Okay, son, you can get it. And this was the kind of the beginning of me. He put his big hand on top of my head, and my dad had these really long fingers. He leaned down over me, and he jammed his index finger right into my heart, very, very like firmly. And I could remember, I could feel that pressure all the time. I could feel him press and dig in. I could feel the heaviness of his hand laying on my head, just kind of compressing me, weighing me down. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Nowadays, I think it's symbolic for just taking on the load of what he was about to say. And he said, "Son, you are going pro. Period." And he said, "Do you understand? You're going pro." And I was like, "Okay. All right. Okay. I'm gonna go
just
pro."
Like that.
So he gave me an amazing and massive call to action at a very young age. And then he said, "All right, so put the ball in the cart." And then he said, "Also grab this one too." And then he grabbed the basketball and threw it. I said, "Yes, I get 2 balls. 2 balls is the best day ever." And legitimately, from that early on decision, I just wanted to do everything at what I perceived was a pro level. Yeah.
Wow. So that's a pretty powerful inception into that.
It was crazy.
So then, When was it, at what point was it where you like? I mean, of course, then it was instilled in you. At what point did you realize then at the competitive level that you were gonna be able to do that not only physically but also mentally, emotionally, spiritually?
That's right.
Emotion, like you said. When was the point? Was it
Mhm.
was it high school when you were playing, or was it a little earlier?
Yeah, so I, to be honest, I always believed that I would get there. I just didn't know how. There was never a doubt in my heart. Because one, I'm a man of God, I'm a man of faith, and my mom raised me to have a spiritual base.
Mm-hmm.
So the spiritual components of how I live my life all come from just what I've learned through biblical studying and just growing up in a church environment, in a nurturing church environment, like a really, there was obviously some issues. Nothing's perfect, but I did learn who Christ was, and I learned that I had a relationship with him. So that gave me this like ridiculous, unyielding faith. And like I just believed that God was for me. And the Bible says, if God be for you, who can be against you? So I took on the mantle of no weapon formed against me shall prosper. There's nothing bad that will happen in my life that I cannot overcome, including asthma, including everything. But although my mom had this installation and she infused me with this belief system, I think she struggled to grasp full hold of it because she forbid me to play sports when I was younger. She didn't allow me to play football. She didn't allow me to do any youth sports, or maybe it was a financial thing and I just didn't know. Maybe it was because we struggled and she was a single mom at the time and my dad was always away and they separated when I was pretty young. Maybe it's because she was working 3 jobs every day, and I spent a significant amount of time with a babysitter, and I just didn't have that athletic experience. The only thing I did was saw what my friends did, and I was like, God blessed me with kind of like a photogenic memory when it comes to recording movement patterns. So I consider myself honestly, like I'm a look-see-do trainer. Like if I see you,
I've seen that in your videos. Sorry, yeah, I've seen it.
I can go, I can record that movement pattern, and then my God gave me with the aptitude to to do things without having the understanding of how they functioned.
Well, like you also have the ability to kind of mix fitness with rhythm and tempo.
Yes,
which is kind of something that I think is unique onto the what you guys do here.
Yes.
But yeah, that's really awesome. So how was it going from that kind of unstructured, not having the you weren't on like the AAU circuit, not really like going to, all these football things early, this, that, the third. Then all of a sudden, you're in high school getting, recruited. How was the recruitment process? And then subsequently, was it always a dream to be a Trojan? And then because that must be wild because you're here in unstructured, boom, high school getting recruited, boom, USC, 2-time national champion, and it
was wild.
That's insane.
I think it's just a reinforcement of just having limitless and relentless belief. Not fully, just faith that everything would manifest itself the way you pray and the way you hope and work towards. Because I truly did not know. I didn't have a recipe towards getting there, except just work to the greatest capacity that you have, love people with all your heart, and don't purposely try to hurt others in the pursuit of your goals. And those principles just really guided me. And it wasn't until, I did play 1 season of flag football when I was 12. It was the first time. It was the first time I was allowed to because I signed a contract. Little backstory: I was a childhood actor. My mom did let me do that because she wouldn't let me compete, and I had too much energy to stay bottled up, right? And I was the local playground legend in every sport. I was the GOAT in everything, I was the black top king in basketball and racquetball, whatever we did, football, sideline pop, jumping over to, fire hydrants and avoiding cars. Like that was my jam, right? But I didn't understand the real rules of the game of football or any real sport. I didn't understand the real rules of anything.
Like 11s,
like really get it. I was a street kid.
The nuance, like the nuances
That's right.
and such.
That's right. So I played basketball like and won, and just because it's what I knew.
Yeah.
I played football like NBA, like NFL Blitz. Sorry.
Yeah.
And NBA Jams when I played basketball. I didn't know the real rules of things. So when I finally sacrificed my contract as an actor because I signed it and it said that I couldn't do anything to to alter my physical appearance. I couldn't gain weight. I couldn't break my leg playing a game, and I needed to be, you know, at a casting, or I needed to be filming.
How does that? Out of curiosity,
Of course.
I'm now I want to delve into that just briefly.
Sure, man.
Just briefly.
I'm here for you.
Yeah, we're in the thick of it now, so you know we might as well So what? How does that work for someone who has no clue kind of how that game works? You know, child acting. What is the type of first of all, what's the type of work you did actually, and then what's the type of contractual obligations that you have to sign and such activities that as an athlete you were withheld from?
For sure. So I don't know if it's the same for everyone. I know that I had a management team called Academy Kids, and they're based out of, I think, North Hollywood. And they signed me to, well, they didn't sign me, but they set me up with an audition for, I had an awesome agent named, I believe it was Kazarian Spencer and Associates. Wow. I think that was the name of it at the time. And they were representing some pretty heavy hitters in the youth acting field. Like, I recognize a lot of the kids that they represented on the shows that I loved and the movies that I wanted to see. Essentially, I went into like a random class that they had allowed anybody to come into. First of all, I saw my buddy in a movie, and I was like, yo, I saw you in a movie. And he goes, dude, I go to these acting classes, you should come. I came just to hang out with him and ended up taking the class, and it was like an improv section. So we did this improv, and it went really well, and the teacher invited me to stay later, and she had me read something, and she said, you know what? I have a role in a new movie coming up. I think you'll be perfect for it. Just like that. And I was like, really? And I said, like, really? She said, yeah, it's a good one, though. It's a really good one. And I said, okay. What? She said, it's Jurassic Park 2, The Lost World. I was like, Jurassic Park, they're going to make a part 2? Like, yes, I love Jurassic Park 1.
You said you were more juiced on the movie than
Totally, 100%. So, like, true story, 2 days later was the call. Like, no audition. She took that as an audition. It was effortless. I didn't feel any nerves because we built rapport that whole 2 hours I was there. And when I got to set, I met Jeff Goldblum. I saw Spielberg. I didn't meet him, but I saw the other actors, and it was great. They put me right into wardrobe, makeup, and the whole thing. And the scene that I was in, unfortunately, never made it to edit. It didn't make it out. I looked for it in the bonus features, and it never happened. But they paid me well, and it was great.
Yeah.
And that was kind of it. Once I did well on that role, I just kept getting job after job after job, and then I signed like a short contract with Seventh Heaven as a background person.
Cool.
I was an extra in like all of season 3 and 4.
Wow, so like fairly early on. That's pretty.
It was very like, kept me busy. So I was missing a lot of school and doing school on set and having fun and enjoying my time. But I started racking up a lot of credits, and then I became a SAG actor, and then Fox came out with a campaign called Violence, Don't Do That Game, or Violence, Don't Play That Game. And I was actually the national face of that campaign.
Wow.
As a little kid, I was in every commercial that they did for like a whole summer. And it was really cool. It was really fun. It was a fun gig, and that just kept leading me to other things.
Yeah.
I forget. I was in Touched by an Angel.
Wow.
The Pretender. Lots of little things.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And ER as well. So yeah, man, it just went on and on and on. But ultimately, I got so immersed in that. And it forced me to work diction and enunciation and stage presence and just being able to articulate what I was saying, that football and sports it couldn't happen.
Almost took a back seat in a way.
It just had to, because now I had all these like contractual and like these moral obligations to fulfill with acting. So when I finally became I think 8th grader, my first contract ended with my agency. And that's when I said, I want to play football. And one of my buddies was playing flag. I was like, Mom, it's not tackle, it's flag. Can I just play? And she's let me sign up, and I went crazy. And I said, this is it. This is what I want. I begged her and begged her and begged her. She said, no, son, I don't. She says, no, your lungs and this, and no, I don't want you doing that. Your brother played football and he got hurt really bad. I don't want to see that for my baby. No. She refused. Fast forward to ninth grade. I went into ninth grade at 5'2", like 120,
Wow.
maybe 120. And she's just, you're too small. You know, God didn't make you to do that because your lungs, you're tiny. You need to be in front of the camera, son.
Mm-hmm.
You have stage presence. That's what you should do. Just be an entertainer. I didn't get the same satiation from being behind the camera as I did as being on the field. Being in the competition, I wanted to feel bruised. I wanted to feel the sting of the competition, and I wanted to push my lungs. I wanted to know what I was capable of. I truly did.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to play my freshman year. I snuck on the team my sophomore year. I didn't get to play, but they put me on varsity. But I just sat on the bench, and then I think I got in a couple of little games at JV. Mind you, sneaking on the team. And then ultimately, I think it was my cousin that spilled the beans. She was on the drill team, and she was like to my mom, "Auntie, are you going to John John's game?" And my mom was like, "What game?" And I told her that I was tutoring kids after school every day to get college credits. I said, "Mom, I'm tutoring kids in English literature, and I get college credits, and yeah, it's gonna go on my permanent record." And so I had an alibi to be home late and every day, but I was learning, understanding, trying to learn football. So finally, my junior year came around, and my mom saw me play, and she was like, "Run, baby, run." And things went well. I think 4 games or 6 games or so into my first real year playing, USC started knocking at the door.
Wow.
Along with like 20 other powerhouse colleges as well. I don't know. I had like a ridiculous amount of productivity in that first 6 weeks. I was leading in a lot of statistical categories in LA County, in California, and I was doing pretty well in the country too at the time.
Oh yeah, I mean SoCal is a hotbed of talent for football. So that's pretty incredible. So I mean to go from sneaking on the team from playing flag football to sneaking on the team, then to kind of balling out within your first real opportunity to get there. I mean, then with the support of your mother, that must have been awesome to come like full circle with that.
It was great.
And then what was I know the recruitment process now, it's coming under such huge scrutiny in light of, the NCAA with basketball and all these payoffs. But how was the recruitment process? And then what was it? I mean, was it always kind of USC and then everyone else?
No, it wasn't USC at all. I didn't even know anything about USC, to be honest. The only schools I knew of were Notre Dame, Michigan, Nebraska, and Miami were the only schools that I knew about because I was from Chicago. I wasn't really a West Coast kid, and we moved out to California when I was going into 6th grade.
Okay.
So I heard of USC, but I didn't know anything about the history or the legacy behind it. And I actually started to get recruited in track and field before football because track was the first sport that my mom allowed me to play. But I wanted football, right? I wanted football, but she did let me run track, right? So I was already getting small letters from some smaller schools for running hurdles and doing well competitively at that. And so to me, it just felt like I was on the right track.
Yeah.
It felt like the things that I was doing, I was making good calculated risks. I was making calculated decisions, and I stayed to my course of trying to go pro. I kept that in the back of my mind. Everything just keep,
the hand on the head.
Just keep working, keep going pro.
Yep.
Just do it. Treat people professionally. Do well in school. Handle it like a pro. So I wanted to do everything that I thought a pro would do. Which is why the first opportunity I got to compete for my high school was in a track and field event, the hurdles, and I didn't even have a coach. We didn't have a hurdle coach, but I remember there was a 99-cent video store that was around the corner from where I lived, and I'd just run over there. The lady would let me, rent the video. And I found all these cassettes of hurdlers and Olympic sprinters, Carl Lewis and Michael Johnson and Maurice Green. And I would get these tapes and watch them. And again, like I said, I believe what the gift that God gave me was the power of retention. So I'm watching and I'm recording these movement patterns over and over again, watching what these guys are doing. And then there were instructions and tutorials on how to run, how to sprint. And I took that and applied it to what I thought I needed to do on the field. And then I learned how to hurdle kind of from watching this cassette. And
Wow.
it was crazy. It was crazy. And then I had a lot of success in the hurdles. And that led to a lot of colleges looking after me as well.
Wow. Wow. So then subsequently, the decision to go to SC, like we were talking about a bit before the interview,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of your experience there kind of was, I'm sure tremendous program, tremendous coaching, tremendous facilities, awesome teammates,
Yeah.
like,
it's great.
Friends and family basically for life. But how was it there at a time when, I mean, you were there, you got 2 national titles in your time there. You were there basically in the hotbed of kind of the Trojan War,
That's right.
the whole, how was being on that squad?
It was the most chaotic piece, and yeah, I'll say it was hectic piece,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
We were kind of like alone on a pedestal in a way.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
I don't know if that's, I don't know.
I can, yeah, yes, because I was homesick for that. I didn't know it, but it's what was driving. I was homesick for the opportunity to compete at the highest level.
Mhm.
I wanted it. I felt like I was deprived of it as a young person. So when it was time to get, when I was older and I could make a choice, and God presented a doorway for me to do it, I wanted to go to a place where I felt like there was a legacy and a culture. So yeah, when SC recruited me, I started to learn about the culture, and then I learned about Ronnie Lott and all of the great players that played there before I'd gotten there. And there was a dude that I really loved that used to come to my high school and train, and his name was Keyshawn Johnson.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, that guy goes there? He's one of my favorites. I'm going to go there. If I get a chance, I'm going to go there.
Yeah.
And so getting there and having Coach Carroll just like indoctrinate us with competition, fight for your brother, fight for your team, fight for your colors. This is what we're about. We're the Trojan Army. And I'm just like, I can dig this. I've been wanting this level of fellowship. I've been wanting this camaraderie. I've been wanting this fraternity.
Mm-hmm.
So it satisfied my internal desires for chaos.
Yeah.
It really did. But the academic workload was so great that you still had to be civil. So it was the true definition of make savage the body, but make civil the mind.
Wow.
So I loved it. It sharpened my tools and taught me how to hunt.
Almost within that, I mean, you could, to attain, greatness, you do have to endure a certain amount of chaos, almost within any, whether it's athletics or not.
Totally agree.
Because there's going to be, whether it's people with their hand out, whether it's people just what's going on in your minds, or whether it's people wanting to glorify or knock you down. It's going to be, yeah, it's wonderful, but it's crazy.
It's definitely a physical and emotional roller coaster to have the demands, that we were expected to uphold at USC.
Yeah.
And remember, this is a time where California had Los Angeles had no professional team,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I felt like we were personally the most popular football in the entire state. USC football was LA's pro team.
Oh yeah, the colors were synonymous with Southern California.
And the Coliseum, and one of the most historic arenas ever. And with that level of competition, and we would get 15 5-star recruits a year.
Yeah.
Right? If that means anything, it does.
Oh, it was insane. Yeah.
Those are young people that get essentially promised the opportunity to take somebody's job.
Yeah.
So every single year, faithfully, there's a whole batch of young athletes who are thirsty and starving for an opportunity the same way you were when you committed, and they want to take what you have. And you are supposed to call them brother.
That dichotomy must be
You're
wild.
supposed to call them family. But I know that you secretly don't want me to do well.
Wow.
as it relates to your needs or goals. But our collective goals, you want to see me thrive. It's a powerful thing. It's a mental and emotional tug of war where you're subconsciously not rooting for the person you're screaming for. It's horrible. Now, I can say personally that I supported every teammate unconditionally.
Yeah.
But did I believe that I was more talented than a lot of the athletes that maybe had opportunities or were in positions to play before me? I did.
Yeah.
Did I believe I deserved to play before them? Absolutely not. Because everybody was good.
Wow.
All of my brothers could ball. There was not one terrible player on our team. There was not one person who didn't deserve the opportunities that they were able to capitalize on. And I would die and take that to my grave.
Wow.
So Coach Carroll's decisions to put men on the field, I trusted it. Whether I liked it or not, I trusted it.
Yeah.
And it taught me a lot of composure in life. It taught me how to weather storms, and it taught me how to be more meek and have a more humility-oriented approach to life.
Yeah, wow. And I mean, of course, Carroll's legendary for having the ability to have everyone buy in. I mean, that's people say that ad nauseum about Carroll. So that's definitely. I mean, that sounds like it was an incredible experience. I mean, how could it not be?
Yeah.
I mean, but I get, and that's what people don't often realize is, you're literally at practice all freaking day, and then you hit the books, and then you're back at practice in the early morn, getting hollered at basically, and then you're back in the classroom, and then you're back at practice. It's just.
It's not to mention all of the conditioning and strength training sessions, all of the recovery and therapy things, all of the study hall that was mandatory, and all of the other like group assignments that you had to do just to like make sure you were being acclimated to like social infrastructure outside of football dynamics.
Of course.
We had to learn how to be functioning humans in society as well, which most people don't even get. But the one thing that I think really gets me about USC that a lot of schools, a lot of universities would never have to understand was when I came out of college, it was kind of at the tail end of the gangster rap era. So you got to understand that all of the athletes that were at SC, especially if we were from inner city, we were kind of products of that music.
Yep.
And so we had rival neighborhoods and rival gangs and rival colors, associated colors, Crips, Bloods, Latin Mafia, all just kind of having to be in the same
pocket.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter what street you're from, or if you wore red or blue from where you were from, or your friends were from, or where your uncles are from. We wear cardinal and gold. And this is family.
Wow. So
to get all of those kids to like put away that side of themselves that they were like bred into, like, nah, man, I'm like, my family's from this gang. I don't gang bang, but I support us. But you from a different type of neighborhood, and we normally enemies. But we got to play with each other every day.
That's wild.
People don't even understand that that's what Coach Carroll was able to abolish. He got rid of it. He snuffed it out. And he taught us how to really love and support one another. And it was amazing. And that's why the end product was 3 national title games in 3 years. And we won 2 of them.
Yeah, to be able to, almost in a way, I feel like to tap into that, the inner city, like, gang mentality in a way, and kind of flip it, but also not just like get rid of it, almost like use it in a way to kind of unite.
100%.
But like not kind of like disparage it. You
right.
know?
Right.
He
was embraced it. He understood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like to use it as a strength in the most positive of ways.
That's right.
Is such a unique ability.
You got it.
And I could only imagine what being in that locker room after he harnessed that there must have been just some surreal energy that like
it really was. And one thing about Coach Carroll was he wasn't afraid to go find staff who could relate with young people, staff who could empathize with young men, not just people who are always barking and trying to bend you to their will.
Yep.
But he found real strong men of valor.
Yeah.
Not to say that we didn't have problems from time to time, but all humans do. And the fact that we had such strong leadership, man. I mean, I had a coach, and my position coach, who I loved, named Rocky Cito or Rocky Seto. I've never known how to pronounce Coach Rock's last name. I just call him Coach Rocky. If you ever see this, you know I love you unconditionally. And he was a man of God. And he just poured into us. Like, he loved us.
Yeah.
And then we had Coach Ken Norton Jr. He loved us.
Yeah.
And we had Coach Ed Orgeron. He loved us. He was crazy and aggressive, but he taught you how to sharpen your fangs as a young lion. And he taught you how to hunt. And I could go on. And if I'm leaving out any coaches, you guys know I love you. Coach Greg Burns, I love you guys all. And those dudes were like really strong guys who could stand up for you. Yeah. But at the same time, if you did wrong, they kick you in the butt.
Yep.
And if you did well, they pat you on the head. And it was like a good balance. And I think that what made Coach Carroll brilliant was he understood how to recruit his supporting staff. He understood how to find men who can embody some of the traits that he needed instilled in us. And that was huge, to have a coaching staff that was almost equal as powerful as the head coach.
Because they're going to be the people who are with you day to day.
That's
super
correct.
hands-on.
And you had to trust developing these young minds who most of us had heavy ego. We were the guy from where we were from. We had to learn we had to learn how to be role players, most of us.
Yep.
And that was all coaching staff and just having the support of the Trojan Nation.
Yeah. Well, hey, big shout out to the Trojan Nation.
Yay, fight on.
Exactly, fight on. So let's briefly go through USC, and then that was an awesome breakdown. I mean, I got some insight into some stuff there, and our viewers did that I never would have thought about. So that I appreciate you sharing that so much. Then on to like NFL, and then the arena. How like the shift from kind of collegiate, but even what's wild is I could make the argument, other than the pay, USC is at that point was basically, I mean, whether it was the hype, the media, even how every team was coming at you probably every week. I mean, you were getting their best shot. Yeah, oh yeah, exactly.
We got their best shot.
And there's something to be said about that, because people always say, like Alabama can't take on like the worst NFL team, but what about Alabama giving USC their best shot every week? I'm not saying that
that's
they
right.
could,
Everyone,
but
yeah.
You got the target on your,
true.
not on your back. On
I would
have
loved to play Alabama when we were there.
Oh my god!
Unfortunately, they weren't competitive enough.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, exactly.
They weren't competitive enough, and Nick Saban's he's great.
Yeah,
he's great, and I still believe that these Alabama teams that I've seen over the last 5 to 10 years, I don't believe they scored 13 points against our Trojan tenure. I don't.
I love it.
And not to say no disrespect to Bama. I just believe that our overall team speed was different, and the skill level was just too superior. And that West Coast, their DBs couldn't have. Not with our receivers.
No. I mean, it was kind of down the line with you guys. I mean, it was basically everyone from receivers to line to defense to cornerbacks to safeties to kickers to. I mean, we're talking.
Remarkable,
running the gamut.
Remarkable depth and skill at every position. Our punter was up for the Heisman.
There you go. I mean, that says it all. Right?
It does. It really does. And that's Tom Malone. Shout out Tom the Bomb.
Tom the Bomb. Let's get. So then, how was going from like almost I'll say it, pseudo or quasi professional level at USC to then the NFL and the arena in terms of like the just. I don't know, however you want to talk about it.
Yeah. So the NFL truly, for me, stood for not for long. No jokes about that. It was simpler.
Huh.
The NFL was a lot simpler than the competition that I had to endure at USC.
Does that entail, is that due to the business side of it?
Well, I think that I made college so difficult for myself because I carried 22 units a semester. So I double majored at SC, and that ruined my social life. It ruined I think, many relationships with my teammates. And that's why I always tell everyone I was weird in college, because I was the one not doing what everyone did socially. I missed so many major functions that created the bonds that I see guys still have on Instagram. I see guys and I'm like, wow, man, I don't really hang out with too many of my former teammates, although I wish I did have like a little more brothers. But I've got my core like 4 to 5 guys, and we've been rocks for each other in our lives, for a long time. So because of my academic workload, combined with the pressures of being, a high-level performer during that generation of Trojan football, the NFL, when I got there and I only had to focus on just the game and being a professional, it was a lot slower to me. And I felt personally like the college players were faster.
Wow.
But other people could feel, look, I played with Troy Polamalu every day.
Yeah.
My teammate was Reggie Bush.
Mm-hmm.
My receivers were, Steve Smith, Kerry Colbert. These dudes were flyers, and they were very skilled.
Yeah.
Like to see a drop pass in practice was pretty rare. I mean, from our receiving core to see a guy just drop a ball.
Yeah.
Like I played receiver and I dropped. I would be the guy that dropped it. When I played receiver and defensive back. So it was such a high level of execution, and we were just so finely tuned at USC. When I got to the NFL and I saw other types of players, Southern players, I saw people from East Coast and got to experience their game consistently. It was just different, and I felt like yes, they were very skilled and they didn't make mistakes. The speed overall wasn't there. I mean, a 31-year-old lineman doesn't necessarily move as fast as a 23-year-old lineman, right? And the receiver with the second knee surgery is not getting out of his break as quickly as that 19-year-old
John Ross running
that also runs track in college too.
Yep.
So I felt the NFL, like the game came to me. The only thing that was challenging for me was terminology and fighting for reps.
Yeah. So kind of the whole like OTA then training camp aspect of it. Just that's interesting. And then the terminology, like, I mean, once you go from one team, then the terminology changes on another team. Then position-wise, it changes. Then
that's right.
It could probably change even week in and week out on a team.
And
right?
it did.
Yeah.
Like NFL concepts, they're a lot more verbose than what we experience. Well, from what I can remember experiencing at USC.
Really.
And the players spoke differently to one another. Like as a secondary, we communicated with sounds, not words. From what I can recall, it was more sound effects that spoke to like adjustments and checks, because quarterbacks and offenses are so intelligent. They're intuitive too. They hear certain trigger terms and they can kind of predict what coverages you're in based on what you're saying.
Even if you switch it up as many times as you want.
Yeah, I suppose film doesn't lie. I mean, I play for the Houston Texans, and so seeing Tom Brady and like real lifetime and seeing really it was Manning, like Peyton, like he's making checks every single thing we do over and over, like lollipop, blue NASCAR, he's just going on and Fruit Loops, and
Porcupine Tarantula.
Yeah, that's right. And then you see Marvin Harrison step off the line. You see everybody's making adjustments, and I'm like, yo, dude, we can't speak. You gotta just make a noise, and we have to communicate that way. So that was just a minor adjustment, and maybe it was just something that we did in Houston, because the secondary guys would be like, yeah, right, and it only applied to a couple of guys, and we make certain adjustments or woo, and you had to differentiate that on the field. So less words, and we use words as well, but we would do sound effects to kind of speak to like what coverages we were in.
Goodness, my goodness, there should be like a mic'd up segment just on like the non-verbal, like just like the audible, like the audibles that are conducted via just like grunts and woos and like
stuff like on the fly. Like we had one of the best corners I've ever played with is Dante Robinson. Such a baller. But there's another corner named DeMarcus Fagans, PD Fagans. Super awkwardly amazing corner. Like the way he moved, he just was a nightmare to receivers. He was a nightmare. But him and D-Rob would do so many things, like at the last second, like he'd be in a press situation and then his instincts would tell him to bail or something. And just right before the snap, he'd be like, I'm going! And he'll bail out. And the safety just has to modify real quick and make the adjustment based on that. And it was a high level of like communications, which took me a little bit of an adjustment.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like there's a lot. Is there a lot more
improv
and feel for the game?
I'll say no. But when you have a chemistry in a secondary, you guys can kind of get away with some things.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. So that makes sense. So then shifting. This is going to be another interesting one, because like we've all seen it on TV and stuff, but I don't think a lot of people understand like how gnarly and how like freakishly athletic everyone in the AFL is too.
Incredible talent.
I mean, how was that shift in not only like playing, but in kind of just the dynamic off the field, kind of the
dude. For anybody who's ever watched an arena football game, you have to watch it. First of all, I'm going to say this. USC was life-changing experience. It gave me my foundation as a young man, I believe. Going into the NFL was the maturation process of me like stepping into the man that I really wanted to be for the rest of my life, right? But the Arena Football League, once the NFL was done for me and I left the NFL with a pretty severe knee and ankle injury.
Oh, wow.
So that pretty much tapped me out.
Was that in-game or, sorry?
You know what? It actually happened in Europe when I played in NFL Europe.
Okay.
So I ended up playing 3 seasons in 2 years, which was a little much for my body at the time.
Wow.
And so the knees gave out and I took on a lot of damage in Europe and when I was in Germany. And I was a safety out there, so I was coming downhill and smacking some big boys, and it was fun. But the knee, I tore my knee and brought that into training camp. I played well during that training camp, but just wasn't the same. And then it did get hurt in the preseason game. And the team loved me. I believe Coach Kubiak loved me, but I couldn't run.
Yeah.
So it was okay. I understood.
Yeah.
No hard feelings.
It was a mutual kind of
I understood.
And then, so then the AFL opportunity.
So I rested for a whole year.
Smart. That's smart.
I recovered. I had to rehab my knee. And
that year off must have been a little daunting.
It was terrible, but it was the beginning of me understanding corporate business. So, like I said, everything works for me, not against me. I just have to have a little bit of patience to find the perspective. So, when I tore my knee, I got released. I came back to California, and I got a job at Bally's. Which is now LA Fitness.
Okay. Oh, I didn't realize.
It was Bally Total Fitness. Is what it was called.
Yeah.
And I became a trainer, right? But I was already a coach earlier in my life, which we kind of skipped over, but it's fine.
I didn't realize that.
I was a coach since I was 15.
Oh, wow.
I've been training people since I was 15 when I started looking at those VHS tapes.
When you realized that you could visualize and turn that into and you could articulate.
And I took on athletes. I mean, I had paying clients when I was 15 through 17.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Including Taj Mowry.
Wow.
Smart guy.
We could jump back to that when we talk about the speed.
So,
you know.
So once I went to the Arena League, I rehabbed the knee in Bally's and got an opportunity to try out for the New York Dragons. That went well. Man, oh man, that game was so confusing to me. That game was harder than any type of football I've ever played.
Yeah. The
angles, the timing, the speed of the players, the fact that the field is 50 yards long, everything's compressed. One pass could equal one touchdown every time. And then the receiver in the middle often gets to go in motion before the snap. So he's got a legitimate like 13-yard head start on you. And man, it's brutal. It's brutal if you're not accustomed to that game. You better understand how to fully cover.
Yeah.
And so I felt like the Arena Football League was the most fun experience I ever had once I figured it out.
Wow.
It was the most rewarding and it was the most at home I ever felt because things were tighter. I can interact with the crowd and feel the energy because it was in an arena, indoor. So the fans are literally, you can just give them a high five from the field. You can fist bump them, and it's just a little tiny wall barrier that separates the field from the players, or from the audience.
The Lambeau leap becomes the Lambeau hop.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I spent more time in the crowd with the fans than on the field. Because I felt like it was I was just trying to express massive amounts of gratitude.
Yeah. To
continue to be able to play after a serious injury that took me out of the NFL, which I thought was, too soon. But God gave me another chance to compete again, and I wanted to let the fans know that I was there for them, that they didn't come to see us. I was there for them.
That's incredible.
To support them and their entertainment.
I haven't watched like a ton of games. I've seen a few full games, and I've seen that actually from a lot of the players in the AFL. I feel like that's kind of a mentality that a lot of AFL players have.
I think the AFL was full of a bunch of guys like me. Hardworking, great locker room dudes, super diligent, good, effective athletes, but for some reason just didn't have the sustainability or just that extra little bit to have a long-lasting and really successful, by society's definition of successful career in higher levels. but I would have never, ever, I would never replace my AFL experience for anything.
That's awesome.
The people I met, the experience I had, and the fact that I felt validated day in and day out, practice after practice, game after game, that was the most appreciated I've felt in football since high school.
That's awesome.
It was awesome.
I felt a lot of that actually kind of now defunct, unfortunately, AAF, the Alliance football.
It's already done?
It's already done. They folded.
Wow.
They folded 8 games in.
That's
but
tough.
I felt like there was a lot of like similarities to that. There was a lot of buzz around the San Diego Fleet team.
Gosh, that's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. And what was cool on the bright side of it, I saw like at least 5 or 6 guys actually got picked up right when it folded.
Outstanding. Good
So,
for them. Congratulations, guys.
Exactly. That's pretty neat. And then a lot of guys were kind of doing the whole like their version of like the NFL Europe thing in the AAF, so they're going to come back to the NFL.
All right.
So that's interesting. So I guess now we do the bit of the 180 switch where we take it all into speed kills.
Hey.
Speed kills. So again, Laguna Niguel, your gym.
Yes, is Faster Performance.
Faster Performance. And we are in the building of Faster Performance and MMT.
MMT, Mercado Muay Thai. Shout out to my brother, Frankie Mercado.
Absolutely. So take us through, like you said, you were training people since 15.
Yep.
I feel like a lot of what we've been talking about kind of builds to this, in that this is kind of the convergence of so many things in your life, whether it's like how you said at USC you were able to learn to articulate your point, whereas you've been training since you were 15 and you've been watching those VHSs, so you're kind of combining that ability to see something, now articulate it with your inherent athletic ability and your professional and collegiate experience, and kind of mold it into something that no one else is really offering.
Right.
Would you kind of say that that's kind of where we arrived at? I mean, and
That's
plus
right.
more. There's,
my gosh.
that's limiting it even still. But I mean, that's kind of, it's a convergence of so many things in your life.
That's interesting. I don't think anyone has ever actually brought light to that all of the collective experiences have kind of led to this kind of melting pot, or like hybrid style of performance, fitness, lifestyle, mental strength coaching that I do.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's my own thing. It's my own thing. It's my jaywalk talk. I do my thing.
Yep.
And I really do try to walk and lead my life by a certain example. And the jaywalk, although it's kind of a short acronym for my name, John Walker, but really it's I Jesus walk, man. That's really what I'm doing. When I say I jaywalk, I Jesus walk. I just try to walk upright the way I believe God would command me to. And it's always giving me some like great guidance. It keeps me focused. I'm not perfect, no way. But I do definitely strive to let you feel the love of the Lord in my life, and I hope you feel it too when you interact with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So from the first time that I got a chance to actually compete, right? If we're gonna just circle back to when I was a youth, I was 14 really, and I had a coach who was the head coach of the sprinters of my track team at high school, and he goes, "Dude, I want you out here." And I'm like, I can't afford to pay this guy, I can't afford, but I do want to learn this. So I would kind of peep and see and listen and eavesdrop on the things that he was teaching some of the other athletes. And I learned and I picked up. And I wasn't as fast as I thought I was. I realized I really actually was quite slow. And that local playground stuff was just on the playground, because I still had never done it in a real game yet. But he says, look, if you can't sprint, try hurdles, because it's a combination of like sprinting plus technique, and you got to use your brain.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, that might be my speed. So that's the things you got to run and jump over, right? And he's like, yeah, but we didn't have a coach. So I set him up. There's little marks on the field, on the track that tell you where to put them. And I just start running and jumping over these guys, right? And like eventually a gentleman named Coach Shear, was kind of an Olympic hopeful in his day, and he went to UCLA. He came by and he gave us a quick overview of just kind of, he says, you got to buck. You just got to buck like this, and then throw one leg over the hurdle and then whip the other one around. And that was it. I was like, all right, cool. If that's what I'm going to do. And every day, I would just get out there and practice, rent those videos, and keep practicing. And ultimately, I became pretty adept to it, and I became competitive to where that season, without a coach, I took second in the city. Yeah, and I broke the city record.
That's incredible.
My next year, that was my rookie year. Then I broke the city record my next year, and while I was learning how to hurdle, I would take these drills that the coach was teaching me, catch the bus to a local high school down the street, and I would practice these drills by myself at a school called Van Nuys High School. And a group of parents would see me every day doing my drills as best I could. And they're like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm just, trying to practice to run faster." They're like, "Well, who's your coach?" I said, "No, I don't have a coach. I'm just doing it on my own." And they said, "Well, do you think you can teach our kids?" Because there was a little track and field youth team out there. And they said, "You believe you can teach what you're doing to our kids?" And I goes, No, I can't do that. Like, I'm just kind of doing my thing. I'm not even supposed to be here. Like, just leave me alone. You do you. I'm going to do me over here.
Yeah.
And I ignored him. Then a week or so later, the dad came back. He's like, "Hey, man, really, dude, what you're doing looks like it could work for our kids. Like, we have about 6 kids who just need some coordination, but they could just do it alongside of you because they're not up to speed with the rest of these kids."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No, man." He's like, "Look, man, I'll give you $10 a kid." How many you got? 1, 2, 3, how many kids? So there's 7 athletes. I'm like, "Okay." I was like, "Sure, they can hang out. Let's try it." And that started and went week after week after week. I continued to refine my technique, and then I discovered Google. Once I discovered Google and I understood that there was real science to this, I started to understand about fast twitch production and lactic acid tolerance and the formulas for speed. I started to have access to real information, and I just pumped it in my head, took it out there, regurgitated it to the young people. Those 7 that I took, 4 went to the Junior Olympics that season, 3 placed in the top 4, 1 gold medal in the long jump.
Wow.
And I trained those athletes day after day after day until track season was over, and I made some money. And then I realized, I know what I'm going to be when I grow up. I'm going to be a football player, and I'm going to do this no matter what. Yeah. And I've always kept that mentality, and I was like, here I am. I'm still going pro.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So
it's
wow,
legit.
you like incepted that from all the way back then until now. That's pretty impressive.
It never has stopped, bro.
Never has stopped. So that's what also I find interesting about your gym is that it seems that you're a jack of all trades, not only in terms of just the mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, but also that you can walk in here and basically no matter whether you're UFC fighter who you trained Gasol for Australia, right?
That's right. Kelvin, I've been training him up until, he's about to fight tomorrow.
Oh,
he's fighting for the world title tomorrow.
Oh,
against
man.
Israel Adesanya. He's
fighting.
I believe that Kelvin is going to be world champion in 48 hours.
Okay. So
I believe that with my whole heart.
Let's. I didn't realize that was happening. This will break. This will come out a little bit after the fight.
Yeah.
So I mean, we could talk. What insights, if any, do you have for us? And now we're
here. It is. I'll give you Kelvin's secret. I really will.
Wow.
Because this is going to air after the
fight.
So KG, I'm about to give up your sauce. Okay, don't be mad at me. The reason I have so much unyielding faith in Kelvin is because he understands the recipe and he gives every ounce of what he has every time, and it's so simple. It's not even like smoke or mirrors. There's no gimmicks to what he does. He puts in every ounce of his entire being into his preparation. And he is so committed to not surrendering that I just cannot believe that he'll be stopped. He just has an unyielding self-belief, and he only fosters that through immense preparation and self-sacrifice during these camps. Mm-hmm. He punishes the weakness in his body.
If it's not hurt, if it ain't hurting, it ain't working.
If it ain't hurting, it ain't working.
Right?
That's exactly right. So all it takes is all you got, and that's how Kelvin lives.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So yeah, man, with regards to KG, the dude has been an underdog his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he really has. He's a 185 pounder in the UFC. He's fighting for a world title. And he's like one of the shortest guys in the division. I believe he's technically the shortest, and he's considered the smallest 185 pounder in the division.
Mm-hmm.
And he's fighting a guy that the whole world says is going to take him out.
Yeah.
There's no greater opportunity for him to continue to walk into his courageousness by standing and staring a giant in the face. And his opponent is 6'6". I believe Israel's 6'5" or 6'6".
Yeah, with an even larger reach, I believe.
And a significantly larger reach. And not only that, but just a crafty and skillful fighter. He's a
kickboxer.
Israel Adesanya is a true pugilist. I mean, he's very talented,
mm-hmm.
and he's actually one of my favorite fighters on earth.
Yep.
I just know KG.
Yep.
And we've been working together for almost 4 years. 3.5 years. His work ethic is unparalleled. It really isn't. I can't say anyone works harder than him. There may be some people who can work to that capacity, which is everything, right? Like another athlete that I've been blessed enough to work with is like Tony Ferguson and Uriah Hall. Mm-hmm. And I've got some female fighters as well. Ashley Evans Smith being one of them. Just remarkable humans that, to be able to train these people and to work with them and equally learn from them their skill and their gifts, what makes them special and so just like superhuman. Mm-hmm. Remember, my first passion was martial arts. Yeah. And so to be able to stand and right next to the people who I pretty much essentially admire the most in the world, it's such a huge validation that I'm doing the right stuff with my life.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, it seems interesting. I mean, I'm sure there's different specific physical, techniques that you're going to train differently for an MMA fighter, and I'm sure there's different spiritual, emotional, and mental techniques that you're going to teach to fighters versus someone who's coming in here looking to get in shape, to fit into a dress or
it's not even close.
Their pair of whereas these guys and gals who are MMA are just like you said, the most relentless of the relentless. Like you're gonna peak them out at a level almost.
No, it's so true, and I think that's what makes combat athletes so special. Is there is no team uniform to hide behind. Essentially, there's no face mask. You cannot hide. Everyone's gonna see you're exposed. You're the most raw and exposed in the most elemental form of competition, which is combat. Let's take this thing back to Greco-Roman era, where it's just mano y mano, woman versus woman, you and I. Only one of us can actually be victorious, right? If you do it right. If you do it right, I want to test myself as a human. I need to stretch my competitive spirit. Yeah. And you're the target right now. You're the person that I get to do that with. You can't hide. That's what I love about it.
It almost evolves the mano a mano, woman on woman aspect of it, because it's not just because there are other individual sports, whether it be golf, tennis, that's right. But the fact that it's combat even takes it up another notch.
It really does.
The physicality, just the contact, just the one guy or gal leaves the ring kind of mentality.
Legitimately, I've trained hundreds of fighters now, and when I ask this question, I will say 95% of them answer yes. And I ask them this, when you go into competition, do you potentially fear death? Yes. Do you know how remarkable you have to be to believe that you could spend your last moments right now and boldly walk into it?
With the gung-ho full force of your mental, physical,
imagine if you knew that you were about to go walk potentially into the last breath you're ever going to take. And you're embracing it.
Yeah.
that's why I love combat sport.
Wow. I've never heard that articulated in that manner.
The level of conviction is so pure that I'm addicted to being an elemental part of the process of developing the spirit and the willpower to summon up the strength to do that over and over again.
Yeah, which, I mean, it sounds like, to be honest, most of these guys and gals are probably putting in the physical work of it.
That's right.
But it's that behind the scenes kind of, whether it's the game planning of round to round what the fight's going to be, or whether it's the spiritual aspect, or whether it's the second, Mike Tyson, the game plan flies out the window the second you take the first punch.
That's right.
Whether it's being able to cope with that, or, I mean, there's just so many unique things to fighting.
The emotional framework and the mental framework that's necessary to having mental fortitude that's probably one of the greatest things God gave me, was the ability to be nurturing and receptive to the ups and downs of what a lot of these people have to go through. Not just combat athletes, but every sport athlete has some level of stress and anxiety. There's angst in almost everything that you do competitively at a high level. But when you have like life-threatening ramifications are involved, you have to have a certain level of inner peace.
Oh, yeah.
And courageousness that, like, dude, it's like, imagine bungee jumping every single day.
Like the guys who wingsuit,
imagine jumping out of a plane every day, over and over again. Eventually, yes, you develop like a comfort level in it, and then you start to thrive in the midst of the struggle. And I think that's where I try to get each of my athletes to be comfortable with the idea that chaos is a natural part of the process, and you can excel in it.
That ties into USC days.
You can mature in it.
I'm seeing all these tie-ins from the earlier part of what you were saying, though. That's the tie-in of thriving within chaos.
That's right.
Embracing the chaos, but also, most importantly, like you said, finding the inner peace within chaos.
That's
because, yes, you can have the chaos. You can, maybe 95% of the time, but at least that 5% of the time, you're going to need to be grounded.
That's true.
Come back to square one.
That's true.
And realize who you are.
100%.
Yeah, and I mean that's something that's kind of, I'm sure it's going to change from person to person, but everyone needs that. And I mean, you have to probably be very good at kind of gauging how to push people in different ways.
Oh yeah, there is not one recipe, one cookie cutter formula for any set or specific group of athletes. There's some fundamental movements and patterns that you need to make sure are dialed in, because their body will have to move that way in competition. But every single person have different drives, different insecurities, different levels of abilities, different belief systems about what they do. And so for me as a coach, I'm not trying to shape or modify them in any way. All I'm trying to do is add value to what they do well, help them overcome areas of improvement, and then make sure that they know and trust and believe that they've done everything within their resource capacity to be successful, so that we fill them up with so much self-belief. We fill them up with so much ridiculously challenging techniques and patterns that they're like, I've done everything. What else can they challenge? Like I've been through it all. So that then their body starts to regulate that struggle as normal. And once that happens, their fight or flight system is always ready to fight.
Yep.
And I just want to be a part of that.
Wow.
I want to help form the DNA of what makes that athlete tick.
How much of that, like gaining the specificity based on like individual athlete, how much of that is trial and error? How much of that is them coming in and telling you, hey, this is what the type of person I am? I mean, is there a balance?
There is a balance, because I'm not just their coach, but I'm also their training partner, and I learn just as much from them as they learn from me. And I think that level of mutuality and respect allows for us to be super vulnerable with each other. There's one rule I have in my program. I call it, you got to keep it hot. And I learned this from one of my spiritual leaders, who's a pastor, great man that I love, a man of faith. And he's like, Jaywalk, you just got to live a hot life. You got to keep it hot. And I'm like, okay. He says, you got to be honest, open, and transparent. And if you do that, and if you demand that the people in your life treat you that way, the same way, you're always going to be able to meet people where they are, and you guys can have success together. So I asked the athletes, for sure, let's go over the areas that you're completely worried about.
Wow.
Right, between you and I. I will never mention it to the world, but you have to trust in me that I can develop the recipe to help you overcome some of these limiting thoughts or some of these factors that may have been handcuffing you from the true success you're capable of. I want to know what you're losing sleep over. I want to know what's suffocating you from your dreams right now. Something is smoking you out from being as exceptional as you truly are, or your genetic potential will allow you to be. So let's get down to it.
And that's going to bring you closer.
No more games.
That's going to bring the trust open.
That's right.
Everything breaks open after that.
After I prove myself consistent, after I prove myself trustworthy, after I actually walk my talk, yes, then we can break down those walls and then get that athlete to just bear it all.
Wow.
This is who I really am. This is what I show. This is how I feel.
Yeah.
Because it takes a certain level of person to be okay with getting punched.
That's for sure.
It takes a certain level of person to feel comfortable delivering that level of trauma to others.
Well, especially on live TV. That being said, I mean, even
Real
on another
time,
level,
under a microscope,
I mean, that takes it to another level. I mean, it's
so much, and people on IG and Twitter and YouTube are just they're brutal, man.
Brutal.
And I don't even understand how they don't have enough empathy to realize that those are just people too, man.
That's their deal of. That's usually what I find when someone is that. That's their way of dealing with their
it's true.
issues.
I agree.
They project that outward hate
It's so true.
I mean, that by and large, I'm not trying to say lay the blanket over everyone, but that's by and large, I
can pretty much stand firm with you on that. Like, you and I are on one accord with that. It blows me away, some of the things that you're watching these people live their lives courageously, and all you're trying to do is pour like rancid toxic venom into their universe.
Yep.
When they've done physically nothing to you.
Yeah.
When they've tried to live their life the best way that they can, and they're facing their fears daily.
Yeah, like you said, it's
and wanting to encourage you to do. Yeah, it's remarkable.
Yeah,
it's remarkable.
Like you said, sorry to cut.
No problem.
Want to encourage you to do. I mean, that's kind of what we try to do on the podcast is we talk to people who are going to inspire our listeners or our viewers to hopefully, step outside of whatever they perceive as their comfort zone and turn their passion into profession. And it's not all about that's why I say passion into profession, subsequently into the paycheck, because you chase the profession, you chase being able to do what you want to do with your life that you love. Right. And then the paycheck comes secondarily.
It does. It does when you're doing it the right way and you're honest about it.
Yeah.
When you've got convictions and you're being authentic, you're being real and authentic.
Yep.
Dude, things are they improve for you.
And the one thing I like to always say is too, like you said, it sounds like you do a ton of learning, a ton of research, and a ton of what I would say, a ton of synergy. I say synergy is winergy. Winergy,
bro. I thought I was the only guy that says that.
Synergy is winergy.
Man.
So I
love that.
Yeah, synergy is winergy. And that being said, I mean, so we've run the gamut on a lot of good stuff. There's a couple more things I definitely want to ask you about.
Sure.
You talk about, there's two things I definitely want to ask you about before I give you the opportunity to do any shout-outs, any things you want to plug of upcoming stuff.
Outstanding, yeah.
And then obviously anywhere they can reach, anywhere anyone can reach you. We always got to do that. But I want to ask first, and then obviously the advice for people who want to turn their passion into paychecks.
Sounds good.
So the first two things are, how big is the system of reciprocity within training? You talk about the system of reciprocity all the time.
Yeah. To be honest, it's not huge in my opinion. It's not huge in my opinion in the scheme of it all. Because let's see, I've coached 7,000 to 10,000 people in my life.
Wow.
I would imagine. Just with the work I've done in China, where there was thousands of people on the field at a time, right? There's only a unique and specific amount of people that will stand in the gaps with you. And you can pour into so many people's lives, but the one thing about this industry is it's kind of a revolving door, in that some people show up, they need a result, they get the result, they go through the process, and then they're out the door. And then hopefully you find another person who needs the same process. So it's a bunch of introductions and departures. And that's the one thing I don't love about what I do. Because once they get the results, you should wish them well. And now they're,
Precisely.
but you may have imprinted on them as a friend and as a person, but they literally are like, I only can do this for this much time. My finances don't allow for me to continue. Or this is my window. My spouse will only support me for this much time. Or whatever it may be. Here's my goal. My wedding is this day, right? Hey, I need to train. I need this much time in training camp, right? While I still play for the 49ers. Next year, I might be in Cincinnati. So you're not going to see them all the time. And that's the one thing that hurts, is like I worked with a lot of the Chargers last season. Darius Philon, who's a beast of a D tackle. And I got to work with him for the last quarter of the summer last year, and I think he did a great job. Corey Leggett.
Oh, yeah.
And Kyle Emanuel, who just retired. And Hayes Pillard and Denzel Perryman. Like, these are my bros. These are some of the people that I've been blessed enough to work with. And I feel so blessed that those guys, trusted me with their off-season prep. Or at least a portion of it, But those dudes, they go to other teams.
Yeah, it's business.
And so once they move on, they have to. And you got to wish them well. And yeah, you still remain in relation, but the synergy, the winergy isn't the same because they're gone.
Exactly.
And then you've got to find more. It's constantly, I'm always hunting for more people to hopefully positively impact, more people who can take what I have in my heart and my head and apply it in their life in a tangible way for their success. That's
kind of what's cool in a way. I wanted to ask you, what's the difference about training an NFL versus an MMA athlete? I'm sure there's a lot of actually similar stuff other than the specificities to that sport.
Right.
But I didn't realize that differentiation. So like an MMA athlete can set up a camp and they can kind of dictate where they want to be.
That's correct.
For when they want to be there. So that's kind of a more reassured bond, and synergy is winergy for you.
At least while you have them in camp.
That's true. Even then.
Sometimes they want to go and train. They just want to experience other camps, learn from other fighters, learn from other coaches. But when they're at home and this is their home base, for those guys to trust me and
ooh, that one turned off.
Yeah, it said goodbye.
It might have died. We're still good. We got that one running here.
This one's running low. It's on one.
Okay. Yeah, we're almost.
We'll tighten up. Should I keep going?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when those fighters set up camp and they trust me and we're creating those bonds, it's great because they're home. And for them to choose me as their number one performance or quote unquote strength and conditioning coach, which I don't love that term, but for
oh yeah, you're way more than that.
It's popular by demand. Strength and conditioning. I consider myself a performance specialist, and I feel amazing when they want to hire me long term.
That's awesome.
Or they're like, here, take my card on retainer. Let's just go. I'm like, woo, let's do this. Now that's reciprocal because now I can support my family with what I love to do.
Yeah, which is a perfect. So this is a perfect time for shout outs. The first thing I want to say is always is the Run Faster program, the speed dynamics, speed mechanics, the first step, the recovery posture, the rhyme balance, the arm integrity, the A skip and the B skip.
That's right.
There's some good online videos that I would we'll put in the links to the bio.
Thank you. Check it out.
But those are the 5 steps. If you want to run faster, hit up Jaywalk. It's speed kills.
I appreciate that.
Anything, any shout outs you want to give anywhere that they can find you?
For sure.
Basically, anything you have coming up, any plugs you want to give, please, the time is yours.
Woo, there's always so many great things coming up.
And it's that one right there.
There's so many great things coming up, guys. First things first, please just check me out on Instagram. It's at John Walker Pro. I promise I won't big time you. I'm not super great on social media, but I try my best. And if you DM me, if you ever have any questions or concerns, I will get to it eventually. I promise I will do that. My website is I just had to modify. It's going live. It's called faster.live. faster.live, and you'll be able to find all of the different business platforms I have. Right now, I'm currently owning 3 gyms. This is one of them, and each gym has a special component. One is in a boot camp that's athletic based, and it's called Faster Fit Camp. And then I have another business that is called Faster Performance, that's specific to athletic development. That's where all of my athletes train, and we're out here in San Juan, and we have a beautiful field that's about 65 yards, and then another field that's 30, 38, 40 yards, and we just grind. That's where all of us, we crank it away. And this is Faster Performance and MMT, and here is where all of my combat athletes come, and this is where most of the strength and conditioning happens. So if you ever have any questions, you can find all of the information on the faster.live portal, and it shows you 3 different links. That's 3 different businesses, 3 different gyms, all on the one page, and you can find me there. Also, check me out on Best Football Workouts on Instagram, and
we'll put all the links, and you can find them all
awesome.
at the bottom of this video.
Awesome.
And so the final thing is, as we always say, it's the ODDCAST, where we talk about turning passion into profession, subsequently passion into paychecks. If you could have just, a summary of advice for someone out there who has a passion and wants to pursue it, and maybe is a little skeptical about, stepping off that metaphorical ledge.
Good. Well, the one thing that I will say is just understand what your purpose is, for one, to know exactly why you want to do what it is you're trying to do. For me, I got a call to action young in life. Go pro. Son, you're going pro. I bought in. I bought in before I could allow any haters or doubters to plant other seeds, right? I totally connected. Now, if you've been dealing with any type of limiting thoughts or any type of doubt, you have to understand what you believe you can do in the lives of other people. And I know you have a unique talent. You have unique skills and gifts. You do. There's no one in the world like you. You're the only one. You're the only person that can do what you're capable of. And that thought that's been kind of like whispering on your heart, that's the thing you need to start to move towards, right? And you'll be afraid, but just try to walk with purpose. You understand? Do it intentionally. Don't just live your life by mistake, just letting the wind take you everywhere you go, or be like a sheeple following the sheep or the herd everywhere that they go because society said that that's cool. Don't be one of those. Live with extreme purpose. That means do things because you've made the conscious decision to. Be mindful of who you are and the energy that you put into the world, because what goes around does come around, right? And I will tell you this. If you walk with purpose, you will collide face first with your destiny. You will figure out exactly what you're supposed to do if you just do it with all of your intention, with all of your integrity, and being mindful of the things that come out of your mouth, because the power of life and death lives in the tongue. So you never say anything about yourself that you don't want to be true. If you want to be successful, you speak that into your life. I am successful. I am somebody who's loved. I am somebody who's cherished. I do have gifts that I can bring to the world. I just have to continue to focus on them. And if you can believe it in your heart and then put it in your head and grow it in your heart, you can pull it out and put it into action, and you can start to walk that path. I just need you to know that I'm not just speaking rhetoric. This is how I live. And I've been somebody that's been told over and over again what he can't do. You understand? I know you can do it, whatever it is. You have the gift, you have the talent. It's been an unction that's been just kind of murmuring on your spirit, and you're like, man, I need to pull the trigger. I should do this. I should do this. That should voice, or you're like, man, something told me I should have done that. Yeah, that's something that you hear. I like to say that that's God giving you all your best ideas. In my world, God has 4 names: God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost, and something. Whenever I say, man, something told me I shouldn't have done that, it's God going, bro, don't do this. You're going to get in trouble. Or if it's like, I'm so glad I listened to that something in my head, or something said I should have came today, that's God saying, this is where you need to move. This is what you should do. Man, I should have done that DBA. Darn, I should have invested in that thing. Man, I shouldn't have bought those shoes. Whatever it is, listen to that voice and then figure out why you felt the conviction to do it, and now put your plans into action and start to manifest them. Make a conscious decision to do something and force your body to reinforce that decision. make a conscious decision to do something, and then choose actionable items to reinforce that choice. Do it, live through it every single day. In every way, you just get better, better, better.
Walk with purpose. And I'll say, take it even further and say jaywalk with purpose. Jaywalk with purpose. So, hey, you heard it here first, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the ODDCAST, where we talk about people turning their passion into paychecks. John Walker of Faster Performance in Laguna Niguel, faster.live, MMT, Faster Performance again, speed kills, baby. It is what it is. Thank you so much for tuning in. Jaywalk, I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate
this is
you
so much fun. I hope some of my journey could hopefully inspire and impact yours. Please reach out to me. I mean it.
Absolutely. And thank you so much. You want to just sign us off?
Hey. Peace out, guys. You guys are doing it. I just want to say this one last thing. Success. Most people ask me about success. I thought you were going to ask me today. Everybody has their own definition of it. Okay? It's not how much money you make necessarily. It's not people validating you on social media. It's not getting the trophy at the end. But I will say this. To me, the true definition of success is to have the progressive realization of a dream that's worth having. So if you can progressively realize the dream that you have, if it's progressively happening for you, you are successful, friend. If you feel like every single day, this thing that you're thinking about, it keeps coming true in your life, you're working towards that place where you can have extreme success, regardless of what you wear, what you look like, where you're from, or what you're involved with. So just continue to walk in that purpose, collide with your destiny, and progressively realize the dreams that you want for yourself. And that is how you can successfully measure success. And that's why you are amazing, because if you take one moment, you'll realize just how impactful you've been in other people's lives and just how wonderful and impactful you are in this world. And somebody needs you. Someone depends on you to be exactly who you are in their lives. Now you take up that mantle and you keep being successful for them because they're watching you. I'm watching you.
Thank you, folks. Hey, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the ODDCAST. Passion to paychecks, baby. Jaywalk, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Let's get a little weird. Let's get a little odd. Those sounds you like to hear. We got it going on. It's the ODDCAST. It's the ODDCAST. It's the ODDCAST. It's the ODDCAST.